Abhi, what's the most recent J horror thing though that came out?
I don't
I,
know. Like
was it a
J horror,
dead train totally?
it's dead. Like
Dead?
no, there's nothing.
Oh,
Is J horror even a thing now as such, quote unquote J horror, or is has Japan completely shifted to making more family drama oriented movies?
They
art
have
I mean,
housey.
shifted. They have shifted. Huh.
Mm-hmm.
yeah,
Oh, at least
Yeah.
that's the stuff that's most popular outside of Japan, I suppose.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
yeah, because
because
modern day Japanese movies, I see are mainly family drama. I'm not disparaging family dramas, but they are very well made family dramas. Like Koreeda has made a career out of making family dramas.
yeah.
Corrida has been making the same films over and over again.
This I
Yeah.
will include because I know Simon absolutely hates Broker, which I understand because I also don't think it's a great film.
Simon, have you seen that
So
mini series of his which came out on Netflix, Makanai?
No, 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 no. I
Yeah,
haven't.
yeah. I have heard
Series,
good things, but I don't know. I haven't seen it.
you
I've
guys have seen the Shin Godzilla and all that stuff. What
Yeah,
is
yeah,
this?
lovely, great
all
stuff, great stuff. Yeah, Shin
Shin
Godzilla.
Godzilla, Ultraman, and
You saw
Yes.
the
Kamen
last
Rider.
Shin Kamen Rider. Huh? Shin Kamen Rider.
You saw Kamen Rider.
Yes, yes, yes. I
Liked
watched.
it
It
quite a
was,
bit. Yeah, I did.
I liked it, but थोड़ा story ज़्यादा अच्छा हो सकता
Yeah,
था.
yeah. It's not as great as Ultraman. I don't think it is as accessible as Shin Godzilla. Okay,
हाँ.
Didn't you hate it, Simon?
Shin Godzilla I hated. Shin
Yes.
Ultraman I liked because
Okay.
Ultraman was
I
a
don't know
favorite.
how you can hate Shin Godzilla when it is literally referencing the exact themes of the 1955 ka Gojira. That's literally what it is doing.
It
Isn't
was
this the
so boring.
isn't this by
Ah,
the director of Ritual?
this is
हाँ
by the
हाँ हाँ
director of Evangelion and Ritual.
Hideako Anno, right?
No,
हाँ
yeah.
मीडिया का.
Yes, yes. Okay, okay. I need to see
Movie
more of his stuff because I loved Ritual.
movie which is coming of Godzilla, which I'm very curious about, not the Apple TV Plus ka series, which I will
There's a
have a chance to.
series?
Yeah, oh yeah, there is a series called Monarch, okay, which is basically connecting Godzilla, Kong Skull Island, Godzilla versus Kong, all that mythology into a single show or something. Kurt Russell is in it, Wyatt Russell is in it. Apple has spent a shit ton of money in it, and it looks great. You see the trailer, the CGI
Who's
looks
making
great.
it?
I don't exactly remember. I have the screeners. I will watch it soon. So
Yes,
anyway,
sir.
yeah.
reflect.
Yeah.
Right.
No, but the Japanese Godzilla, which is
हाँ
coming out this
Japanese one.
year, Godzilla minus one, I think.
Minus.
Yeah.
Okay.
That I'm very excited about. That looks great.
Hmm.
Very excited about that. So yeah.
Okay. On that note, I think I
Hmm.
should introduce what we were actually going to talk about, which is not Godzilla. But okay. Hello, hello, hello. I actually never mind. Sorry. Uh, Hello, hello, hello. Welcome to today's podcast. We are recording straight after, well, a day after our Exorcist live stream. So, excuse any underpreparedness or tiredness that has seeped into me and Amartya, especially.
Yes.
Because I think Amartya is especially exhausted after watching a lot of stuff and writing about it. And I'm just a bit overwhelmed by how much. Uh, podcasting I think I've done in the past, whatever, week or two. But yes, we are here to talk about a very interesting topic. And I think if the topic wasn't this, I think I might have been pushed to delay this. But it's a wonderful topic initiated by Amartya, and joining us is the person who we first discussed our this formatted
Japanese.
sort of. I think
Yeah.
that was our first formatted big
Yeah,
topic
yeah, yeah.
thingy, right? This is the Japanese
That
cinema
was
introduction
a
to.
great episode, by the way. The
Yeah,
Japanese.
I enjoyed that.
Yeah,
the
First time
yeah.
recording with
introduction.
Amit.
Yes,
Yeah.
yes. I think
Hmm.
that was Rashomon. Oh
In the
my
realm
God!
of
In
the
the
senses.
yes, I something I
Oh,
did try to forget,
Yes.
and Drive My Car. I think that those
Drive my
three
car.
were the ones we talked about, which is pretty broad. But we have finally returned with Simon. Last time, at least for the episode that has been released, Simon was with us in Dogma, right? I think that was the last one, Simon, we did, right?
19th August something. I was listening to that
Oh
episode
wow.
Yeah.
Okay.
2 days
Okay. Yeah.
back.
So yes, I mean I've kind of plugged these two in any case, but I think this forms a nice. You can see how we've sort of gone from discussing this, and now we are going to a super specific Japanese. Well, move. I don't know if I want to call it a movement, but it's sort of part of a bunch of films that sort of released during the late 90s and early 2000s, I think, and that sort of
Yeah.
defined a
And
lot of
fits
the
in with the current theme anyway, which is horror
yes,
month of
yes.
October. So
Of course, Halloween and everything. We are not just talking out of our asses and like introducing
which
this
we
topic.
usually like to do, but anyway, we are
No, our
sticking to that
topics are
also.
generally not out of our ass asses. I think we
Yeah.
talk in general about them really out of our asses. Anyways,
Yeah,
uh,
which we apparently are good at it. I don't know how. Anyway, yeah.
yes, but anyways, the J horror is our topic for today, and because I am actually the amateur in this, and I have yet to sort of cover a lot of ground, I'm going to hand or whatever tell Simon to take charge and introduce us to the world of J horror and sort of the key figures, the themes, the sort of its origins essentially. And before we dive into three films, the same format which we originated
Yes.
in the earlier thing. So the three films before Simon goes into describing a lot of the J horror trends and what it sort of how it began and everything. Um, we are the three films we'll be talking about are Audition by Takashi Miike, 1999. Then we'll be talking about Satoshi Kon's
Perfect Blue.
Perfect Blue, 1997.
97. Yeah.
And then finally, we're going to talk about Kiyoshi Kurosawa's Pulse, 2001. So, Simon, take it over and yes, go for it.
Introducing J horror.
Yes.
So the first thing, the the oldest J horror I can recommend or like start this episode with is Tinosuke Kinugata's
Mhm.
A Page of Madness, like a silent
Okay.
film from 1926. It's a
1926.
Okay.
great thing to J horror. Matlab, it has all the elements that we will see in the coming years.
Okay.
Starting from the Kawaidan aesthetics, all those samurai themes, it was
Mhm.
all present in Page of Madness. Very
Kwaidan is
influential
folk tales, right? Essentially, this is
focus
Masaki
and
Kobayashi, the great
like
film director.
Yes. Yes.
Yeah. Mhm.
uh, then I don't really recall any remarkable films until the trio of J horror greats, like
Mhm.
Onibaba,
Mhm.
Oh
Shugetsu,
yeah.
and Kawaida. These three released and it got like
This is
crazy amount
1960s,
of
1960s. Yeah. Onibaba is 60, right? Ugetsu is
uh,
around. Yeah. Ugetsu is around the same time. Yeah.
What about I'll just ask what about something like Kuroneko, which is also is it similar if you guys have heard of it? I think it's the same director as
Kuroneko.
Oni Baba.
Yeah.
it is successful but not on the level of those
Yes.
three films of
Yeah, okay.
Kuroneko or Woman in the Dunes. If I'm not wrong, Woman in the Dunes is also kind
That's
of like
very
horror.
surreal though, I feel like even more
Yeah.
surreal than these films.
Yeah.
humanistic drama, but you
Mhm.
get to Baba, they try like a straight up horror.
Yeah.
Okay.
Mhm.
After that, we all recall the Pink film movement, which involves many horror elements in that. We have
Okay.
discussed
And we have talked about one of them in our previous
Yes.
one of
podcast.
them.
Very extensively, I might add.
Uh,
Yes.
so in that era, Kaneto Shindo also joined hands with Koji Wakamatsu and many other directors
Mhm.
in this. Lots of sexual transgression was included
Mhm.
within
Okay.
horror. Then in this phase, another great example is Blind Flesh is the film. It is
Mhm.
horror with sexual innuendos also included. It's a
Sure.
great film.
What's the title again, Simon?
Blind
Blind
Flesh, right?
Flesh.
Hmm.
Blind Flesh.
Okay.
Okay. Okay.
Then after the internet boom came,
Mhm.
then we have the techno horror of Japan.
Mhm.
Yes.
Films like Pulse, which we will discuss, and
Mhm.
another Tetsuo the Iron Man.
Yes. I've heard of this. Yes.
The
Yes.
Tetsuo, the whole series focuses on the techno horror genre.
Mhm.
Hmm. Hmm.
Also, I'm
Apparently,
forgetting.
it's very graphic, right, Simon?
It's very graphic, like
What is it? Man and
it's
metal combining together or something like that,
man
right?
and metal combining a very grotesque
Got it. Body
presentation.
horror kind of thingy.
Body horror to Japan is one
Mm-hmm.
of the best, I'll say.
Mm-hmm.
So, another director that I will recommend is Shinya Tsukamoto. He
Okay.
is the creator of Tetsuo, I think.
Okay.
Okay.
Okay. Okay.
Let's
So, dude, so you're saying essentially from whatever you have said, I'm gathering that the J horror has sort of been a trend from way back, right? I think one of the things I was reading it that the origins are sort of in like folk tales and urban sort of folk tales and Japanese theater from before only. Like I think they originate from there, but I think what we associate with J horror or what we are associating with J horror in this episode is restricted more to the what Simon described as the internet age, and the boom of the internet age and going forward from.
I think more than the internet age, I think it's the uh, more than say Onibaba or any of them. It's more
Hmm.
like what I saw from the three movies which we have seen. I think it's more like a combat against modernity in a way, or like a commentary against modernity, more or less. Huh?
Hmm.
Society ka change, and through that, the fears of people in the previous generation going to
Yeah.
reckon with how technology and
Yeah.
society is changing. I
Yeah.
think that's how all three of these movies, I think, are sharing a common link in.
Yeah, no, I think one of the things that I might link this article or document, whatever I had read, I was reading in preparation for the episode, is by Colette Balmain. I'm pretty sure pronouncing it wrong, but it's titled "Techno Horror and Urban Alienation," and it's about
Nice.
a lot of the trends in Japan, sort of which have he mentioned sort of motifs of alienation, emptiness, isolation contained within an apocalyptic mise-en-scène of techno horror. That's sort of
So
something
Pulse
that
basically.
Pulse is essentially like the
So essentially
shining.
Pulse, yeah.
Yeah, but there are
all
sort of
these
you can. Sorry, Simon,
uh,
go ahead.
all these films like Pulse, Pure, or Perfect Blue are representative of the culture. Like Japanese youth culture is I don't know how, it's very disturbing basically because the teens are very alienated from the society,
Yeah.
and they have a cultural movement. Let me pronounce the name right.
Mhm.
It's called Himori culture, in
Okay.
which
Okay.
this culture is totally responsible for all the techno horror or everything we are getting, in which the protagonist is withdrawn from the society,
Mhm.
remains sad, melancholy.
Mhm.
That is the total result of how the youth actually gets more attracted to the internet
Mhm.
and
Hmm.
doesn't want to enjoy the outer world.
Yeah.
That is how the directors exploited in the
Yeah.
J horror.
Yeah, I
And
mean, again, building on that only, I think some of the other things that was said in like, the contributing factors to this explosion of horror during this particular time, I think were like public violence, domestic violence, erosion of family unit, and it's all sort of linked with this idea of the old Japan having like an identity crisis of sorts because of the new age, what Amartya was saying about, the fear of modernity in a sense, the fear of, techno modernity, if you want to go ahead and say that, like, just because I think the internet plays such a big role, I think in some of these films, especially which we are going to discuss, two of them definitely, I think,
Hmm.
big role. But yeah, I think so. Give me some examples, guys, of like films which are sort of big and well known from this particular branch of J horror that we're going to talk about. We're not going to talk about these films in detail, but I think it's good to like throw names around about what are the
I mean,
defining
Cure.
titles and defining
I mean,
directors.
Cure. The first
Hmm.
thing that comes to mind is Kiyoshi Kurosawa's Cure, which
Hmm.
I genuinely think is a masterpiece.
Hmm.
I freaking love that movie. I
Hmm.
couldn't believe how good it was.
Hmm.
It's like somebody like very simplistically oversimplified it by saying it's like seven. It's a supernatural.
Hmm.
Uh, I mean, I get that, but it's so much more than that, and part of it is due to Kurosawa's own direction. It's
Yeah.
that movie is fucking fantastic movie.
Yeah.
And then we have the
It's the
big
swear
ones.
thing
Yeah.
obliterated. Yes. No, we are.
Then
We
we
are.
have
You're allowed. You're allowed. Sorry, I was
no,
saying
then we
this.
have the two big ones. I get the
Yes.
idea. Then we have the two big ones, which Simon also talked about, the Ring and the Grudge, or
Yes.
Ringu and Juon,
Yes.
those two, which
Hmm.
spawned a number of remakes and sequels, especially in Hollywood. And
The latest one of which I watched and was the biggest pile of nonsense I've ever seen. And I
which was the
really like the
latest one?
director, so I was very disappointed.
Which was the latest one?
The
The
Grudge,
Grudge. Okay, okay,
Nicholas Pesci, I think that's
okay.
his name. Yeah.
No, I
And
think what I
about
realized from this. No, Simon, go ahead.
thank you for the heads up. I won't watch it then.
Oh, it is really bad. Like really, really bad.
No, no.
Yes.
What I realized from all these movies, which we
Hmm.
have seen, which I have seen, say parts of or something, is that you know Japan is a country. Japan is a place, as a creative place, has some weird premises. Okay, very weird premises, and it's like those weird premises are the reason why their creativity booms so hugely.
Hmm.
Be it in live action, be it in animation, their creativity is so much that
Hmm.
they can, and they are very courageous about the creativity. That's also a thing.
Yep.
Whatever batshit insane premise they have, they will make something out of that batshit insane premise,
Yep.
and they will contribute to it, and they will try to execute it with as much conviction as possible.
Hmm.
That is
Yep.
why those movies always work. The
Yep.
main difference what happens with all this and then the Hollywood adaptations is Hollywood always tries to Hollywoodize it.
Bodyguard eyes. Yes. 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 Yeah.
Oversimplification.
Uh-huh.
Oversimplification, self-aware bullshit, all that stuff, all of this shit
Though,
Hollywood tries
just
to reproduce.
to caveat, I have heard good things about the American remake of Ringu
The first one is quite good,
by
honestly.
Gore
They
Verbinski.
Gore Verbinski,
Yeah.
yeah.
Yes.
uh,
Because
they
I
were
saw Ringu and I thought that there were things. Yeah, I liked the film, but there's a. It feels very plot oriented in a way which detracts from the scariness of it. Like I know that some of them can be plotty, and we will be discussing one film particularly which is fairly plotty.
Early
Uh,
plot, yeah.
but no, I think with Ringu, when I saw it, I just saw it for this. I didn't see it for this episode, but I was very curious about it because I've heard so much about it. Um, I love the way the atmospheric sort of work in this. They are silence. They use a lot of the directors in these films use silence really well. They sort of use that to build up, build up, build up, build up, and their explosion of jump scares is pretty effective. Like a lot of them don't even use them in that very distracting way that we have now. And I think
Yes.
Ringu sort of was benefited a lot from that tension and that explosion of actual, like scare, but like that. But I did feel like it sort of lost itself in really trying to uh, create this dynamic between characters, and not successfully being able to do so, which I again think you can apply to one film here, but we will discuss
Mm.
that. So yes.
And of course, because
uh,
we are talking about Perfect Blue, people must have noticed the elephant in the room, and that is anime.
Mhm.
Because that is the one other subgenre which we are not getting into, because that is like a whole other can of worms. Uh,
Mhm. I mean, we'll get into Perfect Blue, but that's more from
yeah,
a J horror lens
from
rather
J
than a.
horror lens, we are not getting into anime because that is another huge thingy. Which
Mhm.
I am not disparaging. I just it's so much. I like
Mhm.
anime, but it's so much. I'm sometimes scared to even dive in something. So it's
Yeah.
like
Have you watched a lot of anime, Simon, or no?
no, I haven't watched a lot of
Okay.
anime. So,
Okay.
my issue is that I have, because I am the 90s kid, I have grown up
Mhm.
watching some animes and everything. So I
Mhm.
know bits and pieces, and I have
Mhm.
seen some animes. I
Mhm.
still
the
do.
Cartoon Network era anime
Hmm?
I have watched. Cartoon Network
Yeah,
anime.
yeah, the Toonami era. Yeah, yeah, Toonami and
Uh,
Animax era.
that
We have
era.
watched those. Yeah.
Yes, yes, I have watched
I've
it.
only watched like Shinchan and Doraemon on
No,
Hangama.
those are not the ones. Yeah, those are not the ones.
See,
Though I
Shinchan
think
was very
Doraemon is,
funny, huh?
yeah, yeah, Doraemon was actually quite popular. Doraemon
I know,
recently
Doraemon
had,
was very popular, right? Mm.
yeah,
It wasn't Pogo, it was Hangama only, right?
Hangama, yeah, yeah, yeah.
Yes,
So
Good old
in
days, I
good old
suppose.
days.
yes,
In
yes.
case of anime here though, but what I saw with Satoshi Kon, and then of course with Akira, it's
Hmm.
like even Akira you could have put as some sort of a J horror, even though it's not
Uh,
exactly, but it's kind of an existential horror in a way, because it
Mhm.
is basically showing a dystopia affected, like a dystopia affected Japan after after the nuclear
War. Mhm.
explosion. Yeah.
Mhm.
So from that the existential horror which arises. So it's not that anime wasn't exploring that, but unlike say anime cartoons or animation, which is so much restricted to being a kid's version of what it is,
Mhm.
anime always was taken as a medium through which to explore other sorts of subgenres as nuanced, as in a nuanced or as weird as possible it could be.
Mhm. Yeah.
So there you go.
Yes.
Also to plug in what Amartya said about the weirdness of the Japanese culture, there
Mhm.
is a film by Sion Sono called Suicide Club.
Oh yeah,
That he
The
is also. I mean, I don't know how much we should be talking about him, but
yes,
but
he's a part of J horror.
he
We
is
can
he has a prominent name, one of the
can
many prominent names, I feel.
can battle royale be put into J horror or is it more action? Kenji
action.
Uh, More
Kenji
action.
Kusami, more
Hmm.
action, right?
More
Yeah.
action. Like again, for drawing from the article, a number of names that were mentioned. I mean, Mike, of course, who we are going to talk about. Ringu is directed by Hideo Nakata, who also made. I've seen another film of his. It's very similar in tone. Then
Ringu, the first two movies in the Ringu series was directed by him, Nakata.
okay, okay, and then there's Takashi Shimizu, who we're not going to be talking about. Like his films, I forgot the titles which were there. I think the other title also mentioned, which I've not seen, but I don't know if you guys have, is One Missed Call by Takashi Miike, 2003.
No,
Oh,
That's a big sort of
it's bad.
title. It's bad?
haven't.
No, it's not.
Okay,
As-
okay, okay, okay.
Him being
So,
dismissive means it's really not good.
it's like the
uh,
fall of Takashi Miike.
okay,
Yikes.
okay, okay.
I
Anyways,
mean,
but,
considering
but,
the fact that he has so many movies in his docket
hmm,
at this point, which part was his fall anyway? He's still making stuff.
yeah.
He,
But you have,
he's like Japan ka RGB. I'm doing the RGB segment here already.
no one can fall that much. Uh, anyways, you guys have provided a good transition point, so we will move on to the first film for discussion, which unfortunately I didn't get to rewatch. I really wanted to rewatch it because I do think it's pretty ridiculously good. Is
Yes.
Audition by Takashi Miike. This is 1999. It's written by Daisuke Tengen or Tengan, who based it on Audition written by Ryu Murakami. This is not to be
Hmm.
confused with Haruki Murakami.
Uh,
And
while editing, you can cue in the Kiriki sound.
yes, 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 yes. I 100%. But I'll have to place it very like cleverly.
Uh,
Yes.
So yeah, let's see. Anyways, the premise of the film, for whoever's not aware, I think the IMDb actually for once does a great job of putting the premise out, which I used from there is
Here's the fun part. Here's the fun part. It's better
hmm.
not to know the premise.
No, no,
This,
I think they do a good job of balancing it. So essentially, it's a
yeah,
widower takes an offer to screen girls at a special audition arranged for him by a friend to find him a new wife. The one he fancies is not who she appears to be after all. I think that's a pretty good way of, still maintaining the ambiguity of how the film moves.
yeah.
But yes.
For many Indian men, this is their worst nightmare if they are going through arranged marriages. This is the
oh,
worst nightmare. This movie.
also for Tinder dates also.
Also for Tinder dates and also for online dating and everything. This is the
this
worst
is this
nightmare.
is this is sort of thing that's essentially become much more of a prominent thing in today's society in some ways, right? Like it's such a. So by the way, for whoever's not seen it, please see it before we discuss it, because of course we're going to talk spoilers. You can't talk about this
Ye-
film without talking
Yeah,
spoilers.
we can't talk about this film without talking spoilers. So if you
Hmm.
haven't seen it, I will recommend please see it. If you are very squeamish, you have been warned. They are our
Yes.
stuff.
Mutilation warning.
Yes,
Mutilation.
there's stuff
Yes.
in this.
There is stuff in this, but yes, I mean, we can start with just experiences of watching for the first when you first watch the film. I feel that's a good way to, I think, talk about Audition,
I
because it's
don't know.
such
The
a
first stuff felt like a bloody romantic movie or whatever. I was like, what is happening
a
here?
creepy romantic
Yeah.
movie, I'd say. Like there's
Romantic movie,
creepy
yeah.
undertones to it.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, yeah.
I can
And
separate the film in three parts. Like the first, a very warm relationship between a father and a son. Then we
Yes.
have that
yes,
his father's love life, the father's love life.
Yes.
which is
Yes.
Then
where the creepiness comes through. Yep.
By love life, you mean quote unquote love life. 'Cause
quote
that's
unquote love life. Then
yes.
after that fateful honeymoon, everything falls apart in the third act.
Yes.
Yes.
By falls apart means actually is sensationally good watching the film.
Annihilated. It's literally annihilated. It's like somebody threw a nuclear bomb at the
Uh,
relationship.
But
Another fun part of watch audition is it was one of my first memorable Japanese movie that I watched.
hmm.
Oh yeah, you have told me this. Your first Japanese movie was Audition. I'm like,
Audition.
yikes.
I like I want to watch horror. So what was the genre? Torture porn. What
Yeah.
is this?
Torture porn.
Movie
Yeah, but
audition.
okay, interesting that you call upon that, because this has parts of it, or like it is slightly that, but I wasn't so it's one of those tonal swings. I think I remember it as that, where I had known about the Kirikiri thing a little bit, but I had sort of forgotten about it when I was watching it, right? And it begins, and I had heard complaints, and this is the type of film in which critics have called it both misogynistic and feminist. So you can kind of make your own way through it and decide whatever
I
you
mean,
want to
I
call
mean,
it.
it's kind of like the difference in the halves also, right? Because
Huh,
the
it
first
is.
half with the creepy bow of it all, who is searching for a woman like she's a fish in a fish market.
Yes.
It's
The
kind of like.
Tarkovsky movie. Have you seen Tarkovsky film?
Yeah,
A
That
Tarkovsky movie.
dialogue है.
Is it?
हाँ,
yeah,
Oh, wow. Okay.
yeah. Uh, okay then. So thing about that is, if you look at it from that perspective as to why he's actually selecting a woman and all of it, it is, I mean, it's obvious that it is misogynistic
Hmm.
to any sane person who will look at it.
Mhm.
And that is why I'm saying it's nightmare fuel for anybody who is a current single man whose parents are looking for marriage and
As
all that.
Amartya speaks this, he's looking essentially at a screen, which also acts as a mirror and a
Yes,
reflection. So, yeah.
yes. Thankfully, I'm still not at that stage, and by that, I'm crossing my hands. Yeah, Thank, yes.
Yeah.
But then again, the feminist angle of it is, of course, when the switch happens, and
Hmm.
I always have a criticism regarding when all these type of switches happen and when the switches become schlocky. Now, I'm going to compare this with a very recent movie that came
I
out.
know
That
which
is,
one you're going to. I knew you were going to bring this up. I think I'm correct, but go ahead.
yeah, I was going to talk about Fair Play. Have you seen Fair Play?
Oh, never mind. Sorry, I was wrong.
Which movie were you
Bar-
thinking?
Barbarian.
Oh, Barbarian. No. Barbarian swing is way too wild. It's like he couldn't maintain the strength.
Sure,
I
sure.
was going to
Got it.
yeah, I was going to
Do
talk
not
about Fair.
spoil it, considering I have not seen it.
Yeah, okay.
Hmm.
I'm going to talk about Fair Play, and I'm not spoiling this also. But Fair Play is like there are increments, okay, to how the tension is building and everything. It's a workplace
Mhm.
drama and the relationship evolution and all that stuff. How the movie ends,
Mhm.
okay, it's it's quite violent how the movie ends,
Mhm.
okay, and for some degree you will think that it is ultimate catharsis. If you ask
Mhm.
anybody, you will say that it
Mhm.
is ultimate catharsis. For me,
Mhm.
it did not feel like ultimate catharsis. It's a
Mhm.
satisfactory ending, but it's not ultimate catharsis because
Mhm.
I felt that the ending became schlocky.
Mhm.
And that's my point. In Audition, when the swing happens so drastically, it becomes completely schlocky. And by that point, I'm like, oh, we are going there. Okay,
Mhm.
I mean, we are going there.
Mhm.
Like, you are not
Yep.
hand holding me or anything. You are not telling me that it is reality
It's
or something.
basically just like it's the. I think I remember this correct. You can of course correct me. It's a lot of it. I'm trying to draw from memory because I saw it a while back, but I do remember this one sequence. I think Simon mentioned it, the honeymoon sequence, right? And there's a sort of vanishing that takes place after that, and
Yes.
the film sort of basically it's like someone pulls a plug out essentially from
Yes. Yes.
you like it's the whole thing, right? Like you are going in this one mode and someone just like totally yanks you out of it, and I was just like, you do either, again what Amartya said, either you go with it or you sort of go what the whatever, like
Yeah.
I'm not with
What
it at
absurd
all.
way.
Yes, I'm like but I was like, okay, so you have done this and I have totally gone with it, and I'm totally like
Yeah.
into this whole thing. And I think it sort of reveals a lot of layers about the woman's character, like how she's been treated and how she's sort of
And
channeling that.
like how Simon says, if he wants to divide it into three acts, he can do that because
Mhm.
each and every three act each and every act is punctuated by a flashback to a scene of the woman, which we learn is the woman,
Mhm.
uh, in a separate space, alone in a yellow colored room, yellow light, yellow lit room.
Mhm.
Whispering to a, I think it was to a sack, and
Mhm.
those are the only moments where you are, given a hint as to what we are witnessing isn't exactly
Mhm.
what is going to happen.
Yeah.
So those are the three, kind of jump cuts in a way, which could divide those acts.
Mhm.
So
Yeah.
in a way, Mike kind of easily does it. But yeah, I have to say that that transition was weird. It's like that shift was goddamn weird.
Yeah. No, and I think.
Doesn't mean it doesn't work. It works
Mhm.
fabulously. But I'm just saying
Mhm.
it was very weird.
Yeah. Yeah.
Uh,
So,
Also, I think it shares a very weird similarity to Rashomon.
Okay,
Because
mm.
how?
Rashomon maybe the female dominates the male at the end.
Yes,
Mhm.
yes, yes,
In
yes.
audition also this happens.
The perspective ka thing is also there, no? Like you're
The
flipping between
perspective also changes.
kind of like that. Yes, yes, yes. So it is playing at that idea of perspective, sort of flipping around, not in the way I think as layer peeling, not like Rashomon I
Yeah,
feel,
yeah,
but
of course not.
more
But yeah,
like layer. It's like again layer tearing rather than peeling, I guess, because
yeah.
it's tearing one layer and
Even
then
Or
showing
just
another,
or just flipping the perspective,
flipping.
just
Mm-hmm.
yeah,
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
just slightly, yeah.
also there is an element
Oh
in the
God,
flashback of
I have Janeja flash. So anyway, anyway,
You
flashback.
had to bring that here in this episode.
yeah, yeah.
Simon, you were
And
saying?
That the child abuse or something like that in
yes, yes, because
flashback. That
yeah,
was also a
yeah,
catalyst
yeah,
for
yeah.
a behavior in the
Mm-hmm.
final.
The final sequence is, let's just say, disturbing,
Hmm.
and
And a
and
brilliant sequence first of all, because I haven't seen a torture porn film so effective in doing that. Otherwise, you will just
mhm.
get bored if you watch another film
But
like what.
I correct me if I'm wrong, Simon. The torture porn element in this, like, it's not like the blood is, it's almost like a very uncomfortable position you are in also as a viewer,
Yeah,
because you kind of, I'm not sure if you sympathize with the woman's character in this, but you have a slight whatever edge of
Empathizing,
a little bit of
empathizing.
a connection with her because you see she's sort of been given this treatment
just
throughout her
suffered.
life. Yeah, but then what she does to the man is also extremely violent and extremely out of bounds, and I was like, I don't know if you should punish him like this. Like, this is a bit excessive. So it's like juggling with your sympathies, I feel. I think torture porn in
Also,
general though forgets about, largely is about the
The bad
mm,
torture porns, saw sequels, the bad torture porns which are
hey,
there
Paw
usually.
isn't bad. What
Uh,
you
the
talking
sequels
about?
are, or like say, Eli Roth's Hostel. Those
Haha.
movies, oh yeah. So
mhm.
those
But
movies, the bad torture porns forget about the human emotions involved in
huh,
it or anything. They just want to focus on the violence, on the gore.
Yeah, it's the well, it's about one type of fluid essentially.
Yeah, it's a superficiality catharsis through
Yes, yes,
just
yes. Yeah,
bodily fluids and everything else. Yeah.
yeah, yeah, yeah.
correct
But
me, like in the
hmm,
final scene, does she sedate the man with something? Because he doesn't scream much while he's doing
Yeah,
I
yeah,
think
yeah.
she sedates him first, and then he wakes up to him sawing his leg off, if I'm not
Yeah,
wrong.
yeah, yeah. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
uh,
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
We had
You're
warned
right.
you before, yeah. So the sawing the leg off is, please don't. That is exactly what happens. So I can't really like tiptoe around that.
But
Uh,
but I also think, and I'm not again disparaging this movie or anything, but I'm just reminded that all these movies with all these traumatic characters, and to
mhm,
show that these people, especially women characters,
mhm,
there is a reason why
mhm,
so many activists and so many protests are going on now, that
mhm,
women characters haven't been shown in film with a better light, especially in movies like this, because whenever you're trying to show trauma, all of these traumas are always related to sexual assaults and all of them. And while Takashi Miike's audition has some parts of it which you can explain or just rub away,
yep,
in later cases, in future movies and everything, those are very
mhm,
lazily handled. You
yeah,
know,
hmm.
it's like emotional trauma required घुसा दो एक female put a sexual assault or something, or just a fleeting throw, any of
Oh,
that sort.
you mean irreversible?
Yeah, exactly.
Simon,
Exactly.
do you like that movie? And I just
I love them. I
okay.
like the movie, but it was nonsensical. A 17-minute sequence
Ah, yes.
Exactly, right. That's what I'm talking about. And it's like
taken for granted. I'm like, okay,
it's
move
taken
on.
for it's taken for granted. It's becoming glorification just because for
Hmm.
calling quote unquote art. Again, I'm not blaming audition for this. I'm just saying it becomes a trend, and it is very
Yes.
troubling once you
Yeah,
start looking at that trend.
of course. And
Not many people
I
can balance out what I should say, a female empowering a man. Not many people, not many directors can do it masterfully, just
Mhm,
like how Audition did,
mhm.
or
Yeah,
how
which is
just
why the
how Sima did
criticism.
it. Hmm.
Yeah, which is why the criticism that it is both misogynistic as well as feminist. I think the misogynistic aspect comes because it is mirroring the society which it was at that time. You know, this
Mhm.
97. So the misogynistic was already there because
Yeah.
that was the society anyway.
And I think
And
this, I'm not
feminist was
Feminism
the
was
sure.
flip.
very much misogynistic in in the starting period, or now
Yeah.
also
Are
females are
now to we get. Yeah, of course, now also we get. But you know, nowadays the both of these sections are in equal force, right?
Mm,
It's like one part shouts that we should be liberal, we should be equal and everything. The opposite end also starts shouting. It's like both of them have equal vote and equal voices in.
yeah. No, but
Previously
I
that
think.
didn't happen, right? So that is
Mhm,
why when subversions like this occur, they
mm.
become revolutionary.
hmm,
I mean, yeah. I
That's
mean,
how
it's
things
just.
like this happen, right?
Mhm. No, I mean that's totally true, and I feel a lot of the success of audition might as well be that it for some people it is one thing, and the other it is something else. Because I think that's really where, at that split, if a film is if a film's ability to do that, I feel is very remarkable in some senses, and I think audition does it in a way that does play with your sympathies. It's not just doing it in a
Yes.
sort of empty gesture hand sort of way, and I think one of the things which we'll move on to Perfect Blue, I think, after this, but because I think one of the few things which will connect these films, and I think what Amartya sort of started the episode with, is this sense of and that was there in that article also, about the alienation, in the sense that of feeling disconnected from society, and in that way adopting different means for connection. And I think in audition, like the opening, even though it is representative of, like, the sort of misogynist attitude in a way,
Yeah.
where what you guys said about Tinder trends and whatever, like how you can sort of easily like plaster that upon today's society, but it does talk to a sort of fundamental need or desire to connect with people. And I feel it's the horror that comes from, well, in this case, miscommunication and connection, which I think it morphs into something else in Perfect Blue. So should I transition, because
Yeah.
I think I did it decently. It's directed by Satoshi Kon. I think this is one of the more. This is probably the most popular of the three films we're discussing. Am I correct?
the
Yeah,
most
I think so.
popular,
Yeah.
because it's an anime, so it will be popular.
Because it's an anime, and because it's basically been remade into a
Black
Darren
Swan.
Aronofsky film. Yeah. So
Uh, so let
very
me just
much.
say this one thing. Satoshi
Mhm.
Kon died so that Aronofsky and Nolan could run.
Yeah,
Yes.
basically, yeah.
Yeah.
Well, by the way,
Just
this
wait
is my
till the day
first. By the
after
way,
that.
this is my first Satoshi Kon. Man. Just
You
putting it
just
out.
you watched it today only. That
Yeah, I
also.
watched it today
Yeah.
only. Yeah, and
This is a rich
You should
text,
watch
very rich.
Paprika right back.
what
Back to
what?
back. Perfect Blue and Paprika.
Hmm.
Back to back. With double bill. Out of so
Again,
good. Both of the movies.
Simon. I wish I had that mental fortitude. Seriously.
The best thing of
uh,
Satoshi Kon is both his opening sequence and ending sequence. They are brilliant. In
mm.
Yeah,
Perfect
yeah.
Blue and Paprika
Oh,
also.
Perfect Blue has an absolutely
Absolutely
sensational first
sensational. Yeah.
opener. I remember it. I've seen it 2-3 times now. Like the opener, I've seen 2-3 times. Movie, I've seen 2 times. Again, I didn't
Paprika's
rewatch it.
opening is more beautiful. Paprika's opening is more beautiful.
Got it.
Let's
Paprika
let's
is
stand on
basically
for
Inception before Inception, right?
ah
Yes.
then
Okay. Okay.
So
and they're very much creative.
Mhm.
In cinema, we have toned down culture.
So
I have heard.
yes, we have
Yeah.
heard that. Yeah.
Mhm.
I think the thing about Satoshi Kon, I think in Perfect Blue, I'm not even talking about the movie. I'm just talking about the aesthetic.
Yeah.
I love the fact that how he made Japan so vibrant. You
Mhm.
know, every person, it's not like a typical anime. Okay, every person has a different shape. Every person's shape and
Mhm.
facial shape and expression, everything is different. It's like
Mhm.
very meticulously structured, and yet
That
all
works
of them
very
are
well
very simple.
into, but that works very well into the film sort of, disconnection. And like, I mean, I know sameness doesn't equal connection, but like it feels alien a lot of time, people
Yeah.
with each other and sometimes. But
and
anyway,
also
before,
and
go
also
ahead.
because the vibrancy of Tokyo is there, right?
Yes.
I remember a scene in Perfect Blue in which there is an advertisement of a typical anime type of female, the bug eyes, red color, and all that shit. And
Mhm.
then that door opens, and then we see normal people getting in and normal people getting out, and their expression and their faces are completely different from the normal anime moment
Yeah.
which we are seeing. And then you
Mhm.
realize that both of these things are animation, and
Mhm.
yet both of these things are different, and how Kon is differentiating from two of them.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
And I
Totally.
was like, this is fascinating stuff.
No, no, it's absolutely. And I mean, for anyone who's not aware of Perfect Blue, please, again, I think best to check it out first before you listen to our discussion. It's very short. It's
85
1.5 hours,
minutes. 85
right?
minutes. It's not
85
even
minutes.
one and a half, it's
Yeah,
1 hour 21 minutes. Very short.
exactly. Follow this trend, please. And it's based on Perfect Blue Complete Metamorphosis by Yoshikazu Tekoichi, I think. And Satoshi Kon's film essentially is about a member of a Japanese idol group, or I think pop song group, or whatever it is, who retires from music to pursue an acting career. As she becomes a victim of stalking, gruesome murders begin to occur, and she starts to lose her grip on reality. Again, I am DB doing a pretty good job of
Yeah.
this what the film is about.
First and foremost, I need to check this with Simon. Was Satoshi Kon Nostradamus or some shit? Because he completely got what fandom was going to be 15 years from now. Like after 90s. He
Well,
completely got it.
I consider him as like one of the best director in
This is
anime.
insane.
Hmm.
It's the movie was made in 97.
Yeah.
He got fandom exactly right.
But Amartya, did he
Starting
get it right
from
because Japan at that time was like that and basically we haven't moved on? Or is it it's like, I'm thinking it from that perspective that we
No, no,
haven't
we
it's
moved
like
will
on?
move on, but that fandom will get modified into something else.
yes,
Yeah.
yes. And also that pop band, it shifted now from Japan to Korea
Yeah.
because
K-pop.
the K-pop
Mm-hmm.
phenomenon, what is shown here, that
Mm-hmm.
one member of the K-pop group goes to may have an
Mm-hmm.
acting career or some shit like that. That faces enormous backlash
Mm-hmm.
from the fandom.
Mm-hmm.
And that ownership and everything of the fandom, that is very, very prevalent.
Mm-hmm.
And I mean, watching this movie, I was like, how? How did you completely predict this?
Mm-hmm.
It's insane.
Also, matlab, it is an animated movie, but if you want to watch a live action movie,
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
the same plot, there is a film called All About Billy Shoe. It's the same,
Oh,
more or
your
less like
favorite
the same
movie of all time.
all-time favorite movie.
Yeah.
Okay.
That film also has a similar plot line, but it's not
Mm-hmm.
that similar. But
Mm-hmm.
yes, how a group of teenage kids relate to a artist and her songs, basically.
So a lot of like
Good film.
celebrity and fandom sort of anxiety of that, but looking at it from a fan perspective essentially, because in this it's from the celebrity's perspective, a lot of it.
Uh,
But yes, go ahead.
Also imagine the number of genres is,
Yep.
I mean, dealing with here, right? It's
Mm-hmm.
dissociation.
Mm-hmm.
It's dissociation with reality. It's
Mm-hmm.
identity. It's confusion of identity.
Yeah,
Uh, it's like fear of getting into another career.
of course. One of the
Yeah.
things which I had noted before whenever I saw it is
Also,
that. Sorry, go ahead, Simon, first.
also like it also contains multiple genres like slasher हो गया, then
Oh
we
yeah,
have
yeah.
giallo, where red
It's a
color is double
wild
bad.
mix.
Wild
Wild
mix,
mix.
yeah. Very wild mix.
There's
Yeah,
And a
thriller,
very
there's
well mixed
psychological
mix.
horror.
That's the
yeah,
thing.
yeah.
Well,
Yeah.
Also, is this the first anime movie which has like legit jump cuts? I was shocked at some of the jump cuts. It's like
I'm not sure about the history of anime, so I have literally no clue about this, but
no,
that's a
like
good
I
thing to
don't
ponder.
remember this. Like the transition from reality to a
The
dream
way it
is
does it
so
is fantastic.
it's
So,
fantastic.
mhm.
It's like he's putting a hand on one section, telling
Yeah.
something, and suddenly she's
Yeah.
in reality. I don't remember jump cuts like this in anime.
The
That
opening especially has this, I think, right? The
yeah, yeah, yeah.
pre-credit sequence, I think, is generally. But yeah, I think one of the main things I had noted was that there's a main tension here between real and dream, of course,
Yes.
but it's so kind of like a limbo state of everything. So it's sort of like pop star and actress is one limbo state. Then there's, you get hard copy of fan letters and internet forums. So you get like the physical and online media ke
Yes,
beech mein,
yes.
whatever you're getting. Then there's adolescence and adulthood. That's that transition that's happening
Of
for the
course.
main character. And then there's real/TV drama. I think reality. There's the TV drama element.
it kind of
The sort of takes
matches
over. And
people.
sorry,
Yeah,
Simon.
yeah.
Means what we say, the reality and the
Real and the real, yeah.
The real and
real
the
and the
real.
real
Mhm.
merges together.
Absolutely, and it becomes more and more indistinguishable. So it's sort of like blurs together in a way which is yeah.
Also by the way, for anybody who is just going there, Satoshi Kon knew exactly what he's making because the TV show in which the woman actually goes to take part, that TV show is utter trash. It's like such a network TV. It's like such a network TV nonsense. Yeesh.
Yeah.
Such an utter trash of a show.
And she's like in total awe of the actress who's like able to hold
Switch
her
in and
own
out.
thing. Yes, yes,
Hold
yes,
on.
yes. Yeah.
Hold on.
So
Yeah.
that's quite interesting.
Yeah.
Uh,
Another aspect is how mirror works as a reflection or the barrier to
there,
what
th-
can be.
this is full of mirrors and reflective surfaces, huh? Like it's like absolutely chock full of imagery of like screens, and you have like characters just basically being distorted. Their faces sort of become distorted or become multiplied in a way, I think, which happens especially after sort of digital media came into, or the internet sort of came into or
Yeah.
exploded onto the Japanese scene at that time. And I feel there's that whole plot point which I remember is the internet age, which sort of signifies the whole internet age anxiety, which sort of gets multiplied in pulse. Is
Also something else which I noticed
Mhm.
is that perks of animation, some things only
Yeah.
animation can do.
Mhm.
It's like when the revelation of the true Mimi Mata, the true Mimi basically,
Mhm.
who that person is.
Mhm.
If you look at the person in reality, she's very different from the original Mimi, original version of Mimi, right? The true
Mhm.
version is an overweight plus size woman, and
Mhm.
the original Mimi is a young pop star level person, right? But
Mhm.
even after the revelation, the original Mimi is never shown. The perceived Mimi is always shown as chasing our
The
protagonist.
original. Mhm.
Yeah, chasing our protagonist. And the only time she's shown,
Mhm.
and this is just beautiful animation, is
Mhm.
when she tries to hurt her by pushing a pencil through.
Mhm.
The blood comes out and the face suddenly distorts,
Mhm.
and that
So,
is such gorgeous
Mhm.
animation. I was like,
Mhm.
some of this stuff only animation can do, because if
Mhm.
you put CG here, right, or even if you try to put live action, it won't work.
it won't.
Mhm.
It
Mhm.
won't work.
Another place the real face was shown in the room. The
Yeah,
first time the
Mhm.
killer is the
yeah, yeah, yeah,
doppelganger.
yeah, yeah. When the murder happens, in flashes, when he was,
Mhm.
yeah, that was
Yep.
also well done. And
Mhm.
finally, when in the final confrontation, when she chases and when she's running towards, she shifts and she falls into the mirror. The mirror breaks into shards, right?
Mhm.
That is again the original
Yes.
first one.
Oh,
Mhm.
Again, gorgeous
iconic
shot,
image.
Mhm.
Iconic image.
Iconic
The
image,
hand
I think. Yeah. Mhm.
gorgeous shot. What a sensational shot.
Yeah.
And then, but then that shift again changes, and she walks back. She goes in the middle of the street, and then we see that younger version again, just blood soaked.
Hmm.
And
Mhm.
this shifting and this transition, this smooth transition, you can only do on
Get
2D
in him.
animation.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
You can't do it with modern techniques. Modern
Mm-hmm.
techniques, as much as advanced it hasn't gotten to this stage.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
It hasn't
No,
gotten to this
absolutely.
stage. It's
Absolutely. I
gorgeous.
mean, yeah, I mean, the again, my memory of the film is slightly hazier than before. But I think one of the few things that I was noticing was also I had noticed was how like her image essentially as a pop star and as an actress both is tarnished like from before. Like there's no like there's nothing perfect about either of these images. I
Mhm.
remember because the whole film is sort of structured around her being conflicted and sort of wanting to return back to that previous image, which she thinks is actually, perfect in some ways, much more perfect than what she is becoming. But but yeah, I remember the fact that there's this suggestion consistently that both are sort of very tarnished and both have, uh, been tainted in some way by the world around her. So I remember that being very. I mean, there's this really uncomfortable and discomforting scene where the rape takes place,
The
which
rape,
is
yeah,
yeah.
Oh,
which is like,
that is too much for an anime.
yeah.
But I do. So I think I remember that.
That is too much for an anime. It's like when they're showing the nude pictures, right? I
Hmm,
saw the nude pictures and I was seeing the camera moving down there, and I'm like, and
hmm,
it gives just a flash and walks away. And I'm like, that is even too much for an anime
hmm,
Hmm.
hmm,
because
hmm,
it
hmm,
is not, quote unquote, it is not hentai. You
hmm,
realize this is normal anime.
hmm, hmm,
So,
hmm.
and then there is also the fact that the quote unquote rape scene, with how it is framed and how it is structured, and because she's losing a grasp in reality, even the
Hmm.
audience is losing grasp as whether that event is actually occurring or whether it is being.
It happens twice, no? That
Yes,
essentially is repeated twice, once with the fan and one with the TV thing, essentially, because that's both her images sort of getting quote unquote raped by whatever
yes.
societies at large. I mean, I remember, see, again, I'll remember it more, I guess, the more you talk about it. But it's such the images in that film have like a very strong quality to them. They like stick with you always, I feel
But
like,
then
in some sense.
it's like strange potency that movie has. Some of those images
I
are
think it
like burnt
improves
into.
only on a rewatch. Only it improves on a
Oh,
rewatch. Yeah.
I've
Yeah.
rewatched it 3 times. Another scene that stands out is that when Mima goes to the radio station to meet her old bandmate,
Hmm.
Oh yeah.
so Doppelganger is inside with them, and he's
Hmm.
like, "Kill Mima."
Hmm.
Yeah.
Then the chase sequence occurs, and we see the
Oh yeah.
Doppelganger gliding away, and the real one is running.
Yeah.
Mhm.
That sequence was very good.
Yeah.
That
That
No.
sequence
sequence was very good, and again, another instance in which animation is the only way this thing could have worked.
Mhm.
Because if you put reality into this, no way does the reality stay.
And the animation is also such a great medium to talk about
Anime,
something
yes,
like real and being
re-
conflicted between real and fake and
dissociative identity, all that
exactly,
stuff.
exactly. Yeah, yeah, yeah. So like it thematically, even the form sort of plays into it really well. And yeah,
Yeah.
it's
Also,
just a great movie.
another interesting. This is just a trivia. I don't know how much of this holds.
Hmm.
It's like I don't know if you guys remember. There is a 80s band, boy group called Wham.
Okay.
Uh, jo- yeah, 80s boy group for Wham, which had, one of the singers, because the entire world does. His name is George Michael.
Hmm.
So
Hmm. Ah, Achan. Now
so, so George Michael belonged to a boy band group which is called Wham, WHAM.
Hmm.
ah,
And then George Michael basically separated himself because he wanted a solo career, kind of.
Hmm.
like more mature career for himself.
Yeah, more. I don't think I can call it mature per se. I think while working, he realized that his talent is much more that he
Hmm.
can consider a solo career.
Hmm.
So it's just that when I saw the name of the girl band group Jam, and like if you just remove
Ah,
the
yes,
C and
yes,
just put a
yes.
W in,
Ah,
I'm like, the timing of this movie is too near for it to be just a coincidence.
Hmm.
It's just, I'm sure it would. It's थोड़ा सा तो
Been
influence.
a yeah, 100% must have been.
Yeah,
And of course, during that time, the whole it was a very it was a
yeah,
phenomenon also, right? The whole pop
yeah.
culture and
Boy band thingy.
yes, yeah, yeah, yeah. So I think
yeah.
it
I
did
don't know.
absolutely.
Another thing is, unlike audition, the
Hmm.
transition in Perfect Blue are much more smoother. Like when we
Hmm.
are transitioning to the real versus fake confrontation. It's
Yeah.
very smooth. Like,
Yeah.
we
Yeah,
don't
yeah,
even that.
But I feel in something like Audition, the he is going for that really jarring, like
yeah,
it's
yeah.
like,
He's
and I think
going for
here
the shortcuts. Yeah,
here it's more like you have to like balance it and blur the identities in a way where you kind of don't know the distinction between some of them at
but
times, right?
again, but again, I don't remember an anime where transitions are like this. Like
Mm.
Perfect Blue really stunned me because some of the transitions are like you see them in live action, and that too in
Mm-hmm.
very well-made live action.
Mm-hmm.
In animation, you don't see transitions like this,
Mm-hmm.
especially from one dream sequence to
To
reality.
another.
And yeah,
Isn't
it's
there
so
one sequence which has like
cool.
2, 3 layers of dreams in this? The one where she gets up 2, 3 times.
Yes, yes,
Um,
yes,
mhm.
yes.
Oh,
Yeah.
this one is also repeated in Paprika also.
Mm,
I
Mm-hmm.
remember the Paprika dream.
mm.
Mm-hmm.
The dream within a dream within a dream.
Yeah,
The
that's the
same.
whole that's why it's the OG Inception, right? That's what I thought. Yeah, yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
Of how many iconic images are there in Perfect Blue? Like
yeah,
every
yeah.
frame
The
is
bathtub
iconic.
sequence.
Oh,
Mm-hmm.
The reason why I'm going to slander Aronofsky here, I'm sorry. The reason why Aronofsky bought the rights to Perfect Blue is because of that bathtub sequence.
hmm.
Mm.
Uh, he basically kind of took inspiration for the bathtub sequence in Requiem for a Dream, and
Mm.
then he wanted to take that inspiration, so he bought the rights to the movie. And I'm like, well, at least you know how to cover your tracks. That's good for you, I guess.
Then he didn't even credit Satoshi Kon, right?
Did he
He
not? I thought he openly credited Perfect Blue and everything. No,
I think he credited him later, and I
later.
think
Mm.
after his death.
Satoshi Kon met him. I think Satoshi Kon met him
Ah,
at one point in 2001
okay,
or something. Satoshi Kon had met Aronofsky.
okay, okay, okay,
Just
okay. Got it.
imagine what Satoshi Kon would have done. He was alive.
Yeah, man. Yeah, man. I mean,
Oh,
seriously.
who forget about Hayao Miyazaki? Would have nowhere. I
No,
He
hate
has
but
a
see,
film.
Hayao Miyazaki.
You hate Hayao Miyazaki?
I don't think his films are that great.
Wow,
yikes.
that's a
Oh,
bold statement
now
being
that's
thrown out.
hot take. Now that's
Huh.
hot take. Now that's a hot take.
Yeah.
Oh, another
Uh,
hot take I missed is that the trio of horror films that we talked about, Kawaida, Yugetsu, and Onibaba, they are back.
They're
that
They
is
are
not true because Quaidan, I will vouch for being very good. So
I will have to
now.
Ugetsu, I
see
will.
those. I'll have to see those, but because I haven't.
Ugetsu, I need to rewatch. But Oni Baba is bad, really, Simon? I've heard so many great things about it.
Onibaba is the only film that I will rewatch again, and I'm like guilty pleasure type movie, but nothing to like
Really?
go
Okay.
crazy about.
So listen,
Like,
I'm a
Yeah.
big Quaidan fan, and I'm a big Masaki Kobayashi fan in general, from whatever I've seen. So
Kawaida,
I
I've
will vouch for
slept.
it. But that's not a criticism. I sleep during a lot of movies.
No, no, it is in a bad way. First, no, Apni
Okay.
Chatpong with the films in you can sleep. He intense. But in the
Okay.
horror films,
I
you're sleeping because
no
of
with
boring.
Quaidan, I can understand why people will not love it, but personally, I will say I really did like it. But I'm also a person who loves anthology films in general, or like these small whatever short stories
Also,
bungled together by one
for
filmmaker.
Yugetsu, Kaneto Shindo is the writer of Yugetsu or Onibaba.
Kaneda Shindo is for Onibaba, because for Ogetsu it's Mizaguchi.
Hmm.
Oh,
Uh, yeah.
oh, I don't like Kaneto Shindo because I recently watched his another film which is associated with Pink film. I hate it.
Yes.
So it's
Okay, so
confirmed.
that's this was supposed to be a very happy and non-hot take episode considering we like all these films. But yes, we have thrown essentially.
I mean, you have Simon. I think Simon has the.
Yeah, but
Now
you've
the hot
thrown the
takes are over.
gauntlet on three very good, very well-renowned 60s horror. You really like Woman in the Dunes, right, Simon? Or no, you don't like that
No,
also?
no, I haven't watched that.
Oh, you haven't? Okay, watch it. It's fantastic. Anyways, yes. So I will. This is something which I should put at the start of the episode, right? So that people
I
get
should have
hooked into
gone for
it.
that. Ah, you should edit my voice and put it. That will get more
I will.
people.
Yeah, exactly. Starting with the hot takes and then basically proceeding with the niceness, I
Yes.
suppose. Anyways, we should transition,
Last
I
thing
think.
about
Okay, never mind.
what
Yes,
is
say.
the last thing about this Japanese horror film, especially the good ones, what is up
Mhm.
with the sound design? It is equally terrifying.
What is up
Like
with?
both the sound design, the way they
Oh.
play with the sound, it's so
Mm-hmm.
cerebral.
I have
Because
to
in
say, Perfect Blue soundtrack is very moody, by the way.
Oh,
Hmm.
it's great, especially the title track, Virtuo Mima.
Yeah,
Was on Spotify, now they have removed it. I don't know why.
But
rights
I think
issues
we
maybe.
can I
Uh,
Rights
think
issues.
we can talk about the sound design most I mean, well, I'll be able to talk about it most
In
specifically in
Pulse,
Pulse because I just
yeah,
rewatched
Pulse.
it. But yes, I know what you're talking about. Sound design being a crucial thing to why some of these films work, because it does play a big role
And
in
I think
Hmm.
sound design mostly works for mostly is there for Kurosawa as well, like Kiyoshi, because
Yes.
huh.
because I
It's
think
so
sound is
different.
a huge factor for him
Yeah.
in both of these movies.
Like in audition, we recognize the kiri 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 sound.
Oh yeah, yes,
Yes,
iconic.
It's not about recognizing sound. I mean, we can't forget that
We
sound. I think
can't
that's
forget that
can't
sound. We get terrified.
then if you talk about perfect to that title like Virtual Mima, it will stay in your
Yes,
mind
Hmm.
while the
and it's like Perfect Blue is like one of those animes, like these late 90s animes, which are like so influential. But they are
Hmm.
like so influential, they've become cornerstone. People forget about their origins, but they are that much influential. Like Ghost in the Shell, Ghost
Yes.
in the Shell's Ghost in the Shell's soundtrack, like the first opening
Oh,
title, that
amazing. Hmm.
beautiful, gorgeous title track. People
Mamuro.
don't know that
It's
it's
the
from Ghost in the
Mamuro,
Shell.
right?
Mamoru Oshii.
Hmm.
I love Angels. Like,
Yeah,
Hmm.
Angel's Egg. Yeah, Angel's Egg is also one
Okay,
weird movie.
that's
That Angel's Egg is one weird movie. I have no idea what the hell was happening in that movie.
yeah, but we like weird here,
Yes,
mostly.
mostly.
Yeah, I think we have two boys afraid haters here, so I can say that that type of weird doesn't click with some of us.
No, no,
So
no, 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 no.
which
That
one?
type of weird is look. Some weird we can understand. Some weird we can't. Who is afraid weird? We are like you are trying to
Who
be
is
weird. We
afraid is
don't
bad.
care. It's shit, Simon. Don't be so polite. It's shit.
Anime is one of my favorites, so I just थोड़ा सा like. Otherwise, I hated the movie.
Yeah, there
3
you
hours
go.
of what?
3 hours of what?
nothing.
Exactly. There you go.
And Joaquin
Yeah,
Phoenix proving his like how worthless he is. This is the last 10
uh,
years.
I shouldn't have incited you to. Anyways,
Yes.
we are not going to Boys Afraid. We are actually going to something that makes us all very afraid. Sorry, I
Yes.
needed to try and transition in some way. But yes, we are going for Kiyoshi Kurosawa's Pulse, which I think is a better choice for this type of episode than Cure, simply because I think it's the connecting edge, especially with something like Perfect Blue, especially with the internet thing. I think is a very
Yes.
good way of talking about
Perfect Blue
Cure.
is a much more singular topic as compared to Cure. Cure is Cure, sorry, Pulse. Pulse is
Yeah.
much more universal since the whole apocalypse
Yes. Yes.
thing
Yes.
on
Yes, I
Tokyo.
mean, yeah, I think what Simon is saying, and I think I agree with this, is the Perfect Blue is also very, it goes into sort of subjectivity a lot more than something like Pulse. I think Pulse is a much more conceptual horror where sort of, the concept and the world building sort of are the bigger things rather than the characters in some ways. At least to me, that's what it comes across. But anyways, this is the film I did rewatch only today, and it's directed by Kiyoshi Kurosawa, who you know from Cure and this, I think, and recently he's made films which are away from the sort of horror genre. I think he's made To the Ends of the World, I think. Like he's more into the art house phase right now, like pure art house character drama phase.
Didn't he make a period film recently?
Yeah, written
Wow.
by Hamaguchi,
Yeah.
He made a
wife of
He
movie
his.
called
also, I think he's also a professor at Tokyo University
He
or some
is.
shit.
Hmm.
Yeah.
He is a professor, film theoretician, etc., etc. So very like
Bella.
known. No.
He's on
Anyways, no, he is a film professor, but he's left making films. No.
Yeah.
yes.
No,
Yeah.
he hasn't. I think he's making films, I think, even now.
No.
That period piece came out
Then,
last year only.
He
20,
retired after Turin Horse, I thought.
uh,
Student.
uh, okay, that's enough because Saturn time
Okay.
was extreme fast.
Yeah, I mean
Yeah.
that was his. Uske baad you can't go any like. There is no statement to make after Turin Horse, yeah, because it's basically like the world is worse and it will get worse. So I'm like, what else can you say then about stuff? But anyways, we are again back to Pulse. The story, I think Pulse is probably the least known out of these three. I mean, Cure is the one that's sort of the big Kiyoshi Kurosawa film. I think that's gotten the most love recently, I feel, whenever it comes to it. But Pulse is about two groups of people who discover evidence that suggests spirits may be trying to invade the human world through the internet. Again, very concise, very apt plot synopsis from IMDb. So thank you, IMDb, for once. But
This plot
yes,
synopsis looks like a 30-minute short film. And the
you can
space
argue that there are portions of this film you need to cut, Simon, I think. So yeah, you can argue that. Anyways, we will start with you because I think you like it the most out of us here. I really like it also, especially on a rewatch. I know Amartya has interesting things to say about it, and I think I can totally understand his complaints with this one for once.
I
But
will
yes,
complain.
but Simon, you first go. No, you do
Uh,
the yes.
so Pulse I started like midnight after finishing Cure,
Yes,
but
you decided to watch them back to back. Yes.
both of them back to back.
Yeah. Yeah.
Depression face 101. Jesus Christ.
Um, I also have faint memory. I haven't rewatched it, but still.
Mhm.
Uh, so Pulse at the start it was kind of interesting how the deaths were being portrayed.
Mhm.
Turning into dust or something, and the whole vibe
A
again. That
black
sounds
hole, black hole sort of.
uh,
It black, not black. It's basically like tar, like a black tar sort of
uh,
imprint rather than a dust. I think yeah.
also this film also has jump scares, but again it's very subtle.
Or the jump scares are really
Whatever
well handled in this. Yeah.
well
Yeah.
handled, and especially
Mm.
the first jump scare when the body of the first victim is discovered. He
Yes.
hangs.
I don't
That
even think I don't know if it qualifies as jump scare. It's just a very good scare,
uh,
like a creepy scare. Yeah.
I wasn't expecting that. I was like,
Uh,
some like monitor it will come, but no, it was something different.
yeah.
Then the most startling effect is when they go outside and we see the whole apocalypse coming down.
Yeah.
The whole Tokyo has turned black. They
Yes.
flee. They flee Japan to go with the American
Yeah,
people.
the suggestion, I mean, again, spoilers. Suggestion is that they are sort of the main character. I don't know if that's the main character, but anyways, the idea that one of the main characters sort of, finds a way out of the situation and sort of wants to continue their life outside of whatever's gone down in Tokyo. And whatever's gone down is essentially everyone's kind of died. Like that's the suggestion, I think. But
Also,
yeah.
what Kiyoshi Kurosawa also predicted one thing: the trend of liminal spaces,
Mm.
like the recent trends which are happening on Instagram. He predicted
Mm-hmm.
in his because both Cure and Pulse utilize
Mm-hmm.
the space in a very haunting manner.
Yep.
This
Yeah,
camera
yeah, yeah.
captures the wide, vast spaces, and we see that one figure standing
Uh-huh.
out of frame and slowly approaching. It's a very staple
Yeah,
trope
yeah.
in this.
Now it's become sort of staple. I mean, it parts of it weirdly reminded me of David Lynch this time. Pulse. Maybe it's just the way the
I think that's the prevalent feeling also, right? That थोड़ा surrealism तो है इसमें.
definitely
Surrealism
there's.
was that David Lynch, obviously.
Hmm? Do now
Surrealism.
don't tell me that you don't like David Lynch, Simon.
David Lynch, David Lynch is the reason I'm watching Eraserhead.
Good,
My
good.
favorite
चलो
I
film.
like. I
चलो
Yes, you are
चलो
safe.
चलो.
Yes.
I can't hate David Lynch, although that mobile wala statement you can't watch movies in mobile.
वो तो बुढ़े लोग कहते ही रहते हैं, छोड़ो.
His movies are great though. Huh? Like Mulholland Drive is.
Movies are great.
No, I'm not
Movies are
saying his
great.
movies aren't gay.
I
That's
know,
a
I know.
poet talking to the clouds. It's
But
like,
we are not Aryan or Sanjeet, so it's fine. You're allowed to watch
yeah,
wherever you want.
उतना थिएटर का मूवी है,
हाँ
छोड़ो.
हाँ हाँ.
बहुत पैसे
Anyway,
लगते हैं थिएटर जाने में, ठीक है, छोड़ो.
I
eh,
found the perfect people.
yes, exactly. Anyways, Amartya, you go ahead. What did you make of it? This is your first watch, so I can understand the slight disconnect and
The
slight.
rating
No,
should be
I don't think.
justified.
क्या?
The rating should be justified. 3.5.
Simon was like, this should be
Too much
banished, the rating. Like, yikes.
You have
No,
committed a heinous
my
crime.
thing about my thing about this movie is like, if if this was anybody else, this movie would have been kind of like a scare movie. Like I
Hmm.
told you guys about 1920s में जब कोई भी technology आता था नया, People used to make scare movies like, oh my god, this movie, this new technology is going to harm you. This
Mm-hmm.
thing is going to take possession and kill you. All
Mm-hmm.
that stuff. So if this was any other director using the internet as some sort of a boogeyman trick to make you scared or make you angry or make
Yeah.
you, possess you or something, it could have backfired intensely. I think my big issue with the movie overall is the pacing of it. I think the
Okay.
pacing of it really, really disconnected me for a while.
Okay.
Because I think because there was so much melancholy, and also I think this
Mm.
was a, how do I say this? This was an intentional choice of Kurosawa, that the grainy camera work.
Yeah.
And
I
because
mean,
it is so,
whatever print I saw, it's not like a restored print or anything. So it is sort of, it plays into the whole, it looks
Also, it's very
grungier and
bad.
grainier than
Yeah,
probably
very
your refined restoration might be of
yeah,
this
yeah,
sort.
no, no, no,
very good.
I saw the restored version, because there is
Okay.
the Hoopla version which is there, which is
Mm.
streaming online on Hoopla. The
Mm.
Hoopla version which is there, it's the normal version, which is
Mm.
thoda sa blurry and everything.
Mm.
So I saw the restored version, which is still okay, but it's
Mm.
still, I mean, you can understand that it is being shot on a Betamax tape or some shit like that. The
Mm.
camera work or something like that.
Mm.
And that grainy after effect really works in the favor of putting even more of a darkened layer within it,
Yeah.
because the cityscape itself is, how do I say this, it's like dusty, it's dark, it's empty, and finally it becomes
Desolate, I
post-apocalyptic.
thought, like
Desolate,
desolate really gets
No
it.
post-apocalyptic.
life
By
in
the
them.
by the end, it's becoming post-apocalyptic. And
I
Hmm.
think from quite early on, it feels actually. This time on the second watch, I was like, they do the whole, the world is some sort of
hmm,
point of falling apart pretty early on, and it sort of
They
continues it.
foreshadow the plot.
yeah,
Kind of.
it's very fascinating to me, and that's why I was saying that I needed to talk this out with people, because I can't write this. When I saw that
Mm.
movie, my head wasn't in the space that I was going to write anything about this movie.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. No, I
Yeah,
mean, I totally agree. I mean, I've seen this first time. I remember. I think I definitely lost it with the movie quite a bit, especially when the apocalypse stuff starts and like they go out. Is the point where I was like, not sure about uh, if we need it. Did Kurosawa need to put the stakes up because he was told to before? But I'm like, is there a studio issue that happened? Because there are images when they're outside and the plane crashes that look incredibly dated and fake,
oh yeah, yeah.
and which I'm like
No,
not
but
against, but
no,
uh,
but then again, it's like the datedness which they're talking about. Again, the camera work itself is so grainy. I think the
yeah.
datedness actually adds to that effect.
But I
Uh,
feel the loudness of the apocalyptic stuff in the end feels very much at odds with a lot of the quiet, like really melancholic despair that's sort of there in a lot of Pulse ka thing,
but
which I think.
I think I'm going to bring a very weird comparison
Hmm,
here. Okay, so don't kill me for this. It's a very
I
very
won't.
weird
Don't
comparison.
worry.
So the comparison here is Matt Reeves is the Batman,
Okay.
because the final act of Matt Reeves' The Batman is the one which is being the most criticized, right? Because
Hmm.
the dams break and then water completely gets into Gotham City, it's getting
Hmm.
flooded and everything. People don't like that act because
Hmm.
they think that it's completely separate from the slow build up that the movie was taking, and then suddenly the scale becomes larger and everything else.
Hmm.
I
Hmm.
and both of these times I don't think I agree, because
Okay.
even if I don't like Pulse per se, I mean, I do. It's just
Hmm.
my brain taking a while to reconcile with what I've seen. I
Yeah.
like Pulse quite a bit. If I'm not mistaken, even if I rewatch it more, I might just grow to love it even more. But
Hmm.
the point being is that the fact that they say that the CGI is dated and everything, there is something called immersion. And this
Hmm.
movie doesn't make it easy for you to
Hmm.
be immersed, if I'm being very
Hmm.
honest with you.
Hmm.
Because there are two tracks here, right? There's the track of the woman who has come to the
Yeah.
horticulture place and working, and then this
Was
guy,
in my opinion, the much weaker track. That
the much
is.
weaker track. Yeah, the guy
Yes.
goes and has a disc and then sees his friend. The creepy elements are those where he sees his friend suddenly hanging by the neck and everything. That
Hmm.
Yeah.
sharp
that
cuts and
parts
sudden.
everything.
Yeah,
Yes.
exactly.
Yeah.
Those are very creepy. But again, those are very weak, and that's my big criticism of Pulse is that I understand what you're doing,
Mm-hmm.
Kurosawa, but it's like that pacing is glacial at times,
Mm-hmm.
especially in the first track. The second track is still more interesting. The one
I
where
think the
he goes,
second track is much better, very
the
honestly.
internet service provider person and the woman goes
Yeah.
and the
Yeah.
second track is better. Yeah, the second track is better because the second track also has the woman actually trying to explain the thesis statement of the movie itself. That host there,
We will talk about that. Yes.
yes, yeah, I know, it's something, but
Yes.
yeah, I think the movie actually starts moving and the movie becomes much more effective once it passes the hour mark because by that
Okay.
time you
Interesting.
start to realize that something is wrong. And Simon's God, I think you start,
Oh
yeah,
wow.
yeah,
Internet horror.
yeah, internet
Well,
horror.
yes. No, no. Speak. I'll let him. I'll message him and he'll join again.
So the thing about it is that how do you create something like putting the internet on focus, right?
Mm-hmm.
And how they're showing it, I understand that the internet is dated as such. I get it,
Mm-hmm.
because
Mm-hmm.
World Wide Web and everything. But there are some things he got right. The
Mm-hmm.
fact that you have to print screen and everything, the confusion and all of that stuff. Those are the stuff that he got right.
Yeah.
And then we realize that within an hour mark, we slowly start to understand that those imprints that he's seeing in the computer are ghosts.
Yeah.
But it is never clearly explained. And I think one of the big criticisms I have is that because the camera work is so grainy, what is actually happening inside the computer,
Hmm.
you can't see. It's not just the effect per se. You can't actually see what is going on.
Interesting. Okay. No,
So
I get
so
what you mean. Hmm.
so you have to focus on the reaction of the people who are watching those visions
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
to understand what they're actually seeing. So it's a lot of like uh, passively trying to understand what the movie is trying to say without actively
Sure.
engaging with it
No,
until
I
it
understand.
crosses the hour mark, and by
Hmm.
that time suddenly one of the friends suddenly disappears into dust and everything,
Yeah.
and by then you realize that, oh, this movie is about depression.
Hmm.
Depression, loneliness.
This
Then
Yeah.
movie is about
okay.
depression. This movie is about loneliness, and once you hit that, that's when the locks click in, because that's
I'll
when you realize what Kurosawa is trying to say.
So I'll say that I'll be in my view, this sort of realization on the second viewing starts very early on. At least to me, it did.
Yeah.
So, like, it feels like everything from the get go is very much about the loneliness and sort of, people being disconnected from each other. Because, I mean, it is kind of a sort of like, I don't know how I feel about the film's statement about the internet in many senses. Like, I think it very much has a negative view of the internet age. It's
Yeah.
basically like, I think I wrote in my story that it's like opening computer windows and then, closing the doors to windows of actual connection between people. And the
I
whole
mean,
film is.
to be fair, like
Hmm,
Satoshi Kon was a Nostradamus, Kurosawa is a Nostradamus here
yeah,
also, because this
yeah,
is exactly what is happening.
yeah, yeah.
There is a
And I think,
reason why this movie, while exaggerated, also feels highly relatable, because
oh, yeah.
this is
Hmm.
what is watching this movie during the pandemic must have been a gut punch.
It is a very, in the pandemic, it must have been an absolute nightmare.
Yeah, it must
Uh,
have been a gut punch, because that's what it is, right? You are looking
hmm,
at screens continuously,
yeah,
and you think you are getting connected with a lot of people, and maybe you
yeah.
are, but you are not actually getting connected to.
That's the whole, I think, see, I do not like when films really overtly explain what they're about.
I don't think
Uh,
it overtly explains that. So that's my thing here.
okay.
I
So
don't think it does.
I think the Harue and Kawashima's conversation about the grad students miniature model of the world made on a computer is kind of very much,
Oh,
this is
that,
the
yeah.
point. I'm
Oh, yeah,
like,
that.
if two dots get too close, they die, but if they get too far apart, they are drawn closer. And this is the way it's translated. I don't know, again, if that's a matter of, subtitle translation or if it's just inherently clunky. But
Yeah.
when it's said, and I read it, I was like, Come on, Kiyoshi, you can do better. Like
I
with the
mean, I mean,
dialogue.
Yeah, I mean, to a certain degree, even that section itself I felt was very ancillary. Again, I'm not saying that this movie is flawless. I think this movie should have been cut by at least 15 minutes.
Mm-hmm.
Honestly, it should have.
Mm-hmm.
It's 2 hours, right? I think it's
Yeah.
exactly 2 hours. I think it
I
should have
mean,
been.
so I'll just say that even if I'm distracted by the slight clunkiness of the dialogue, and sometimes it over explains itself, this time I was just so in awe of you. You said you had an immersion problem. Mera, I think it was very easy for me to immerse myself in this. It just became, because again, might have been because I've seen it and I was just
Might
keyed
have
into
been,
that
yeah.
mood that much. But when it begins, and just the really this desolate and sort of dystopian atmosphere of it, and just the way Yoshi Kurosawa shoots this thing, oh my god, it's so
Oh
bloody
yeah,
good. His direction in this film is absolutely
his
sensational.
direction is goddamn framing.
Yeah,
This movie should be taught in film schools as to what the fuck a mise en scène actually looks
yeah,
like.
yeah. The way his camera moves a lot of
So,
times and shoots
also
through
one also,
windows.
Yeah, yeah.
the way he uses the
Negative
landscape of
space.
his
Yeah, blank space and negative space. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I
It's
thought this time I was thinking this. They see, there's this whole thing about. So just to like go into slightly what the concept of the film is, it's essentially these people who discover there's like this. Well, the internet's a raging thing essentially, and then on the internet they see something and they don't exactly know what to make sense of it, and or how to make sense of it. Right? A couple of them sort of get that impression, and then they discover this forbidden room, which is basically an area, a physical space in which a red tape signifies if you enter this room, there are these spirits that sort of come and haunt you. It's important to say that they haunt you and don't kill you, because that's a very crucial difference, I think, in Pulse than your other ghost movies, I
Yeah,
think.
because there is no blood here.
Yeah,
There is no bloody deaths or
yeah,
anything of that sort.
yeah.
and
Uh,
it's more expressionistic if you will in that
yes,
way.
yes, yes.
We are
Mhm.
getting a focus on the expression.
Yes, yes,
And yeah,
absolutely.
I agree with you, Dhruv, about the clunkiness of some of the exposition, because it's like there is a scene in Kawashima where Kawashima is being talked by one guy in the library who
Yes, yes,
explains
that's
that.
the another student of the Harue who's like, yeah, yeah, that scene's also very odd, well, like oddly written. I'm like,
Again, but then again, it's like since you have seen it before, now that you are immersed in it, you feel that the exposition is actually hampering you and distracting you from the immersion. For me,
yes,
who was having trouble being immersed,
yeah,
that
that
exposition
worked.
actually helped me to
Yes, 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 yes.
recontextualize myself. So
Yeah.
I
No,
can't
but
exactly say that. Yeah,
absolutely, I understand totally what you mean. And that's probably a problem of the second watch where you sort of, notice you're more, about the plot, but you sort of, Simon, you were saying something.
Regarding you, you are saying that the loneliness part comes very clear when you are watching it second time.
Yeah.
But if you are more into this indie Japanese film,
Mm-hmm.
then you will get the first. In the first watch, it is very clear how this cat is very lonely because the
Mm-hmm.
arrangement of the respected apartment and how
Yes.
desolate they are. All
Mm-hmm.
the builds up
yeah,
the
yeah, yeah.
character. The first character who dies, like he
Mm-hmm.
hasn't come to the office, he's there in his home
Yeah.
doing something doing
Yeah.
something related to the computer or something.
Yeah,
So
the
it's
computer, I think it begins on an image of a glitchy computer, if I'm not wrong. Or like
Yes,
that's
yes,
one of
yes,
the
yes,
first
yes.
images.
an
Right.
empty room in the computer.
And
So
in
it
that,
sets up the stage.
yeah, and in that screen, you see when you blow up the picture, you see different shadows and all already appearing. So this suggestion of the ghosts essentially using the internet as a portal to overflow into our world is sort of there throughout. And I think on the second watch, it becomes much more clear that I think the forbidden room essentially is kind of the internet space, but in like limited space. Like internet essentially is like the portal that is allowing all these spirits to essentially populate uh, the spaces outside that red taped area, in my
Yes,
opinion.
and
And
again, yeah,
yeah,
and again, it's like if this was any other director who made films like, say, Sandra Bullock's The Net or Hugh Jackman's Swordfish, you know, any of those nonsense movies which thought of the internet as whatever the flying fuck they thought of.
yeah,
So when you make movies like that, that's uh, that's when it becomes silly. And on paper, if if you read what's actually Pulse is about, you are going to laugh at it and you are going to
Yeah.
just throw it away. Like, what the flying fuck is this?
But I think the
But
impression
then
with
you see
some,
the movie, and you realize that on the surface it is a very genre thing.
Mhm.
The fact that he's trying to ghosts are effectively entering from the internet,
But
internet portal
Amartya,
to another dimension.
just to add to it, I think the impression with all these films is also like the ghost will come out of the screen and actually kill you. That's the big thing, right? With these films, the assumption always comes at the fact that these ghosts are looking out to kill you. But I think here the distinction they make kind of clearly is that the
Yeah,
ghost itself won't kill you. And
yeah, the
essentially
ghost won't kill you.
it's essentially trying to connect with you, and which kind of makes it even sadder that you then want to connect with it but don't connect with it, and then feel lonely with the people who you are with, and that sort
Yes,
of creates this
and
circle where you kind of
it's
just,
a vicious cycle in which
yeah,
you lose your will to live, more or less. And
essentially, yes.
it's and that's the second layer in which he's trying to discuss that, because this is a new technology which is supposedly going to connect the people. What will happen is we will become alienated with the human connection.
Yeah.
We will become alienated with what human connection is, and that is
Mm,
what will finally drive us off this planet, because we are
mm,
social creatures. We need human
mm-hmm,
connection. And the
mm-hmm.
internet, this new age thing called the internet, this
Yes.
internet will
I
going
mean, it
to
was a
drive
much
us.
bigger mystery at that time than it is now, but yes. So
This
you can
new
also
age
put
thing
the
called the
context.
internet with AOL, with websites.
Do you know the name of the website's quite funny? The guy, the with Kawashima, like it's
Yes.
not, well, it's a cheap innuendo, but it was quite funny. I laughed at it. But yes.
The reason why Pulse works as this, what Amartya was saying, it shouldn't have worked if any other director was
Mm-hmm,
making it.
mm-hmm,
But another director, which we just covered in this
mm-hmm.
episode, Takashi Miike, covered the same topic in that Miss Call movie.
One missed call. Okay,
One
it's a
missed call.
similar. Mm-hmm,
A similar movie, but it's so
mm-hmm.
bad. The
Okay.
main difference being, uh, Kurosawa is just he starts off very subtly in the movie.
Yeah.
The scares are very subtle. You
Mm-hmm,
kind of relate with the characters and the loneliness. But in
mm-hmm.
One Missed Call, it's nothing. It's just cheap jump scares and some body horror.
Hmm.
Okay.
That's
Louder way of sort of suggesting something, right? Rather than the very,
Kurosawa
but
makes it more lo-fi,
yeah.
uh,
No, but
little.
this time I was noticing, as Amartya was saying, how the exposition, while I was distracted by the exposition in some of the scenes, I was also noticing how much Kurosawa frames the shots even of reality in a way where they have like a screen-like dimension. They'll appear like computer screens, or they have that same rectangular framing to them, because corridors ke through mein he'll screen from frame within a frame and all that. So I think like it becomes more and more immersive in the way, or believable in the way, how these spirits are essentially entering our world, because our world is essentially made in a way that facilitates them to enter it very easily. So I think like a lot of stuff, what I guess intrigued me on the second watch also comes down to how well the short compositions and short making in this film is. And
And
yeah.
regarding
Say
this short composition thing, we
hmm.
have to talk about the first Red Room. What
The Forbidden Room, yes,
Yeah, yeah.
it's
the first time when we encountered the Forbidden Room,
yes.
the that couch
Oof.
sequence,
Oh, it's a
that was
Oh
scary.
yeah.
And
but
especially when the woman walks in and then she kind of drops herself and we see the whole
yeah,
expressionless face. That
yeah.
was scary.
Yeah, and
That
it's
was
also
the
just like it's the fact that he lingers on the movement of the
ah
ghost. Like it's not like some jump scare. Like they don't like
ah.
automatically come in front of you and like scary. It just moves in a very distorted sort of way. Like it looks like a shadowy figure, and you can't define it.
And the
And
way she walks,
yeah.
it's so
Oh
scary. The
yeah.
way she walks.
The way it walks and the way it speaks reminded me of David Lynch, actually, more than anything else. Like it has that way of speaking. You can't like understand what they're saying. Of course you can't. They're ghosts.
Yeah,
Uh,
you're not supposed to, right?
yes, exactly. So I think that's, and I think this is where you can even talk about the sound design, because I think in the sound design for this, you have like this consistent hum of like whatever
The
your air
VHS
condi- your air
aesthetic.
conditioner or washing machine or whatever the sounds, the natural sounds are there, but then they very perceptively go blank for 1 second whenever something is happening, and then
Yeah,
then the
the sound
score takes
design.
over.
Yeah, the sound design is mad here. It's
Mhm.
like suddenly it just completely sucks itself out. It's like putting you
Yeah,
in a vacuum,
yeah,
and then suddenly the hum comes back again. It's like you are in a server room,
yeah.
and the fan is continuously moving.
Yes, yes,
Kind of
yes.
like that.
That
Like
sound is consistently there, but then it completely sucks it in, and
completely
then
sucks.
it has that score which is
When
like
it is
very
sucked out,
moving, haunting.
it's sucked out when they see the spirits,
Yeah.
because it's like they are in contact with the other dimension, and that other dimension doesn't have a sound. That's what I
Yeah. Yeah. Oh, that's
interpreted from
interesting.
it.
Yeah, yeah, that's interesting way of thinking about it. Yeah.
Yeah.
So I think that I mean, I think the Harue and Kawashima relationship is the center. I don't really understand why it's centered around the other, like why she are product like the girl who we don't know much about, Michi Kudo. I don't know why she's our narrator essentially. I think Kawashima is kind of the person
Kawashima is kind
who's.
of the audience surrogate. Yeah.
I think so. Yeah. I mean, he's also the person who doesn't like the internet, right, and computers. So
Yeah.
he's the one
The
who
He's
only
basically
thing
essentially.
that
Kurosawa. He's basically
Yes.
Kurosawa.
Yes.
the
Yeah.
only thing that separates Cure from Pulse is Cure is very matlab, consistent with this narrative,
Yeah.
not. And while Pulse is like you can doze off for a minute and we don't affect much.
I
It's
think Cure also has a very glacial pacing. I don't think Cure is very fast paced
like,
as such. I think he likes
uh,
his
Cure doesn't
glacialness.
feed information like this is what happens. This is
Cure is
what
a lot to do with like just unknown for a long time, right? It's the whole
in ends
yeah,
you don't know what happens, how we find the
I mean,
killer.
Cure's basic structure is like a serial killer thing,
yeah,
So
yeah.
that is always kind of, I don't want to say relatable. That is kind of like how you are put, like how you are used to in a thriller
It's got
structure.
a genre template which is more defined,
Yeah,
I suppose. Yeah,
basically. And Pulse is almost stubbornly refusing to be in
yeah,
anything,
yeah, yeah, yeah.
until in the end when he suddenly realizes it has to be a post-apocalyptic nightmare, and
Huh,
then
and I was
suddenly
like, I don't know. We go back
That
to the
shift
really sad
is
horror
what
movie you were showing us.
yes.
that shift is what also very hopeless movie. What
No, in the
Japan
end, it's hopeful. I think, like in the end, the ending
Kaha
message I think is
hopeful.
hopeful. No,
Kaha
it's
they are
like
hopeful.
they
it's
are
like
continuing.
we have to move on, sort of like that. Like we have to keep on going regardless of whatever. And they are not near screens, so they are anyways in a better place. So they're near
Also
water.
Like
interesting. Also interesting. Here's the thing. They are
Hmm.
near big screen, big screens, but they don't have screens on the. They are not in small screens because mobile phones
Yes,
don't have bigger screens.
yes,
That's
yes,
why.
yes,
Yes.
yes. Yeah,
oh,
Because if there was an updated version of Pulse, half of the time people will be stuck on their screens.
yeah,
So
yeah, yeah. Yeah. No, absolutely. It's
from there, the ghost would come and try to hug you and then just take you completely. Yeah,
Harue's scene is really chilling. The one where
that
she's
is
looking
chilling.
back and forth, and like, we are
Yeah,
moving between her actual image and the screen image of her, and like, it's
and
shifting
then
between
she
one place
tries
and
to
another.
hug herself. Basically, the
Oh,
imprint of the negative. Yeah,
very, very chilling.
Haruka means that character which dies in the
Who
room.
shoots herself.
yeah.
Ah, yes.
Yeah.
She's in the Last Samurai, by the way. She's the main actress in the Last Samurai.
Wow. It's
Mhm.
the one with Tom
Tom
Cruise,
Cruise, yeah, Tom Cruise and
where
Ken
Tom
Watanabe.
Cruise appropriates as a
Yeah, yeah,
Japanese. Okay.
yeah.
Oh, the
It's
Mission
not a bad
Impossible
movie.
series.
I've not
It's
seen
not
it.
a. It's not a bad movie. It's a good
Okay.
movie. Just say.
I've not seen.
Yeah.
But that is not the note we want to end this discussion on. Find another note, Amartya.
No, no, but I can find a note. That's not the point. It's
Okay.
just that, like, I really needed to talk about this movie because this movie
Hmm.
was, Jesus Christ, this movie was weird.
But it's
But
very conceptual. Like, I mean, I can
yes,
understand why people will sort of not jive with it. So
I
like
think, I think, I
I was like,
think this
you
movie is
can
kind of
treat
like,
this as like his thesis on the internet age, and I'm
The
like,
internet era.
yeah, yeah,
I
yeah.
mean,
I'm
this
like,
movie is kind of also like, and I don't like the movie which I'm going to compare it to, but
hmm,
I can understand. This movie is kind of like Blade Runner in that regard. Blade Runner is like depiction of a future extrapolating from the time in which Ridley Scott is setting his movie from. Like Ridley
Yeah.
Scott is making his movie in the 80s. He's imagining a future 2040, 2019.
2019 or something. Yeah, yeah.
He's encapsulating a future 2090 based on extrapolating from that, right? So that's his thesis on the future.
Yeah.
This is kind of like Kiyoshi Kurosawa's perspective from the present and then focusing on what the future might be. The
Yeah.
problem is, unlike Ridley Scott, Kiyoshi Kurosawa is actually, I don't know, much more of a seer in that regard because he I think it's easier to be a seer when you can always see the worst scenarios of human beings. And
Hmm.
it's like in this case, the worst scenario is using the internet to such an extent that you completely become immersed in the zeros and ones and all the pictures and everything and forego any sort of human connection. Like what we are doing while talking with each other on screens at this point, because there is no human connection here too. So
That
that,
is the good note to end it on, Amartya. That is the despair-filled,
yes.
nihilistic, really
Yes.
depressing note on which we should end this J horror episode.
Yeah.
To realize that what we are essentially doing is not connecting and just getting more immersed inside the screen. Fantastic.
Yes.
Uh,
Also, lastly, to end this whole J horror, because it's now completely dead. The whole
hmm.
movement is
Yeah,
dead.
which is interesting, right, Simon? Because it's it just ended.
Yeah,
And
you know why it ended? Because we have Black
Uh,
Mirror now, guys.
oh,
uh, no.
I was pointing out
Uh, oh,
oversaturation.
come on. Even
Black Mirror
Black
ne bhi
Mirror isn't even Black Mirror
oversaturation.
isn't no, no, even Black Mirror isn't Black Mirror anymore. Black Mirror has now become nostalgia horror. Last
What do you mean
episode was
nostalgia?
last season ka second episode was basically about folk horror. Then another episode was about true crime. Then another episode was about this. And I'm like,
What is
again,
Black Mirror?
what is okay?
Oh,
Oh,
Black Mirror is conceptually interesting but badly executed episodes of dystopian science fiction.
it's not badly executed. I think
Mostly
Dhruv is
badly executed.
mostly. It's like Dhruv is exaggerating just slightly. It's like the first two seasons, which were mainly in the BBC, those two seasons were quite good.
The
Along with
UK
the Christmas,
ones.
yeah, the
Yeah.
UK ones.
UK ones are always good.
Oh,
Yeah,
yeah.
then
UK
Biggest
horror
fan.
film.
then we
Mhm.
go to Netflix, and of course, Netflix is like the Midas touch, but in reverse, which is what it usually happens.
The Shitus touch. I don't
Yes,
know.
the Shitus touch. Yes. Wow. I think my sense of humor is rubbing off on you at this point. It's
No,
like
I'm just trying to think of like, something interesting now in terms of, well, because that's the most I've thought when I've thought of Black Mirror. Uh,
yeah.
I'm kidding. There's just one
No,
episode
no,
I
but this
hate to my guts, so I think that's turned me off. Turned me off. Black Mirror, talking about technology and whatever not.
no, but then again, it's like Black Mirror 2 is not become Black Mirror anymore because right now Black
Hmm.
Mirror was supposed to talk about dystopian future. Now Black Mirror is like, oh wait, lol, our dystopian future is our present only. So let's talk about the present. And I'm like, I'm bored. I don't want to talk about the present. I really don't care.
Another weird series is about love, sex, robot, something.
Hey, that
Oh,
is good though. I
I
really
What
disagree.
is it? It's interesting.
I
I want
only
to
like
watch.
one
What
of
is
the
it?
shorts which I've seen from everything I've seen. That is,
Jibaro.
yes, Jibaro, which I think you recommended to me, and I was
Yeah.
like, that
That's
that shit
that
is
is
great.
such a beautiful shot. That's such a
But
good shot.
everything apart from that, I think,
What
is
is it?
basically pointless. But anyways, fine. I haven't
I
been
mean,
the
all
man.
of those are indulgences anyway. It's like art
Yeah.
house. It's like art
But what
indulgence.
is it?
Love, Death and
Same,
Robots.
slightly like
Are
dystopian,
I'll tell
you know.
I'll tell you what it is. It's like remember. Of course, you won't remember. I also shouldn't remember this, but it's like in the 80s there used to be a magazine, science fiction magazine called Heavy Metal, which is still running today, by the way. Okay, which used to publish science fiction short stories and science fiction comic books
Hmm.
of weird batshit nature. Some
Mhm.
of them were soft porn also. So it's
तो
like
इसमें है ना थोड़ा वो भी.
so basically those who are making these Love, Death and Robots, they
Hmm.
grew up reading heavy metal, and then in the 80s a heavy metal movie also came out. Okay.
Hmm.
Basically anthology science fiction movie of batshit nonsensical science fiction shit.
Mhm.
So people saw that and people were like, oh my god, dude, it's metal. Let's watch this shit. It's more metal. And I'm like, okay, cool, man. So they grew up watching that stuff and then they saw and then they were like, we need more stuff like that. So that's art. So we got
But
this.
it also plays into, Simon, I think bite-sized ka thing. No, it's like वो 20 minutes में निपटा देते हैं सब कुछ, like that type. And Netflix
Yeah.
loves to do all that nonsense. So, but yeah, I think we'll probably get, it's the whole cyclical thing. We'll probably get a resurgence of some other type of horror at some point in time. Like I feel is what Amartya saying is true. तो आप क्या बनाओगे for like dystopian? अब world only is dystopian. What will you make? Utopian sci-fi? Who will watch that?
Gunpath.
Shut up.
Like horror is generally, if you see, it's dead. In I don't see horror coming into the mainstream again. Like
Mainstream. Why you have Conjuring and all that? The Nun also made money.
mainstream in the sense
I
critical
don't
acclaim.
I don't know about
Critical
that,
acclaim
Simon.
is
I
high.
think horror is having a resurgence now. People are watching a lot more horror than they used to before.
The
Streaming
critical
services,
acclaim
man.
has been lost.
Yeah,
The
Critical
previous
acclaim.
horror,
Why? I think more critical. I actually think horror films get more. I mean, they get overpraised. I think at sometimes nowadays,
I
just
think horror
because.
movies. Yeah, I think horror movies now are getting much more. A fair balancing act more or less. Before that, they were like cult favorites and everything. Nowadays, yeah, you are right about that though. They most of them sometimes get overpraised, and I'm like, इतना भी कुछ नहीं था भाई, chill out. So yeah.
Yeah.
अरे Night of the Hunter भी same ना वो
Oh no no no
Oh no,
no
don't go there.
no no
Don't
no!
go there.
That is not included in this. Sorry, Simon.
only one thing is remarkable is a love hate wala story. That is very much remarkable.
Hi,
And
that entire cartoon sequence, not even cartoon, the
We
painted sequence of we are not going to defend
we
Night of
don't go in. Yes. I mean, you will have to formulate a full length argument about this and then come to us. I also need to rewatch it, but I do remember really liking Night of the Hunter. Anyways, no more hot takes, Simon, for this episode. Another episode for that, in which you can bash Hiroshima Mon Amour again. But
yes,
no. I said you in that episode, not here, not here.
we'll do a whole episode like full of hot takes.
Nobody's going to listen, or maybe they might. You have no
They
idea.
will listen. That
They
will
will
be the best.
listen and then never listen.
Then never
They'll after
You
that
need
they
a
will.
live stream for that. That
That
should
is
be
live
the
stream material. Yeah.
That is ultimate live stream material.
Yeah. सब गालियां देंगे उसी टाइम पे
सब गालियां देंगे।
simultaneously.
The
Yes.
podcast will shut down. I have so many.
चलो ठीक है ओके बट
देखो सर एक बार जो पॉलिटिकल कमेंट्री कर दिया था एक एंग्री रैंट पे, उसमें पॉडकास्ट बंद नहीं हुआ, इससे और क्या होगा।
I think until you don't go like heavy politics whatever thing I think it should be fine only. Any
Any
you-
recommendation from J Horror? You can
yes
recall.
go ahead. Any other recommendations before we close off our J horror thingy?
Amartya, you can go.
I have none.
I mean, I don't know. It's like if we have to look into look for people who are interested in J horror, interested in weird stuff and all of that. Tetsuo the Iron Man, watch that. House, watch that.
It's a very old movie. No?
Yeah,
We missed this movie. This is a horror movie, but it doesn't feel like a horror.
it doesn't feel like a horror movie, but it is very weird. It is very weird movie. So watch that. Criterion Channel. Also Criterion
Also,
please sponsor
fun
this.
fact. House was a response of Steven Spielberg's Saw. What he made?
Poltergeist.
Jaws.
Jaws.
Okay.
Obayashi was told to make something like Jaws, and he made House.
Okay, interesting.
I am sorry, Simon, but that is such a weird response to a shark movie. Come on. That movie can't be a response to a shark movie.
I
seen
love
House.
Jaws. I love Jaws. I love Jaws, by the way.
Yeah,
love
same. I
Jaws,
love.
but
Yeah, I think all
I
three of
love
us
Jaws,
love
but House is weird. I can't imagine that movie being a response.
Jaws is not weird. Jaws is just amazingly well done filmmaking.
Yeah,
It's
listen,
basically Alien.
House is also great. I'm not saying
Okay.
House is great, but House is very weird.
I will
So,
watch it. sometime.
Yeah, House is very weird. And then as for J horror as such, the 90s J horror, do not go into the Ring and the Grudge sequel, because if you go through that rabbit hole,
Sequels. Then you'll have to go through all of them, sort of like that, right?
yeah,
So-
then that's another rabbit hole you do not want to get it.
Mhm.
Some of the meekest stuff you can check out. you
Ichi
know.
the
Ah,
Killer.
Imprint. Check out
I-
Imprint. That will
Imprint.
scar you.
Yeah, that will scar your mind forever.
Try
Yeah.
not go and check out Visitor Q because that did scar me in a way which I didn't like.
Yeah.
Visitor Q was a response to Pier Paolo Pasolini's theorem.
I have not seen that, but now you have discouraged me from seeing it. But
Theorem, why? You should watch.
no, I'll watch Pasolini, but this is not a good sign. Whatever you have said about it.
मीके थोड़ा खराब कर दिया.
Chalo,
I
okay. Any other recommendations, guys, before I close off?
also like there's a film called Gozu in which a
Okay.
grown man takes birth from
Yes.
woman.
That's also
Ye-
Takashi Miike?
Yes.
हाँ,
Okay.
and he basically gets stuck while
Okay.
going,
Amazing.
Yes. Because of course,
Uh,
उसके
and
सिवा
they
किसके
crawl
दिमाग
here
पे
and there.
आएगा? उसके सिवा किसके दिमाग पे आएगा ये सब?
and Kyoshi Kurosawa's Cure, of course, we've talked about it in brief, but of course, watch that. That's
And also, I mean, do not for J horror or anything, but Kiyoshi Kurosawa's filmography itself is very interesting. People should
it's
check
very
it out.
eclectic. I need to watch
Very
a lot of
eclectic.
his work. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yes,
Mm.
experimented in many genres.
Yeah.
Apparently, Charisma is one of the most weirdest Kiyoshi Kurosawa movies.
Seance also, right? I've heard Seance is
Mm.
supposed to be very
Yes.
weird. Mm.
Yeah.
Also, he has fell off like that.
Yeah, yeah.
Critical
We just got a very eclectic filmography. Like I was looking at all of his titles because I was so impressed with like Pulse Ka direction. I was like, I want to watch his other movie. I know his writing is probably not as strong as his direction, but I wanted to watch his other films, and I was like, I don't know where to watch. There's so many movies to watch from him. So something like I actually have a J horror recommendation. It's a pretty good movie. I liked it. This is Nakata's only, the guy who made Ringu. Dark Waters, I think, or Dark Water. Yeah. It has a similar edge to Ringu, and it's very tragic. Actually, it has one of those Guillermo type, Guillermo del Toro type of dark fairy tale horror, sort of like that. So yeah, it was pretty good.
Also,
But
premise is very unique. It's like
yeah.
Yeah, true.
Chalo, ठीक है. That's about it for our J horror episode. I hope you guys enjoyed it. You guys liked whatever we discussed about these films. Please do watch these films. I think we recommend all of them. I mean, we definitely recommend all of them actually. To some degree, they are very innovative. They also, some of them are, I think, very
wild.
emotional. Sorry?
Very wild, very emotional.
Very wild, very emotional, very visceral, and yeah, I think we shall convene again next time for some other horror discussion. I don't know. Oh, I know which one we will convene. The next one is Lake Mungo and Possession, because those two requests I had gotten on Instagram to discuss. So that is totally my jam. At least one of them is.
Possession and
We'll select a third one. If you guys don't mind, I'll push you to watch Under the Skin, but I think you guys will mind, so I will tell you to watch something else.
Oh, I will watch.
no, I won't mind. It's Glazer, right? I will watch.
Jonathan Glazer. Yeah. But we'll see. We might program something.
Like Jonathan Glazer going from Under the Skin to what he made, Zone of Interest.
But I'm pretty sure he'll do but he's made a lot of leaps. He's done Sexy Beast,
a lot of leaps. He's only made 3 movies now.
Yeah, but he's dabbled in different genres sort of like that. I mean, Birth is slightly a ghost story. Sexy Beast is not a ghost story. It's like a proper crime
gangster.
Gangster, yeah. Zone of Interest, I'm pretty sure Simon will have a horror edge to it. Acquired
I think
horror.
Zone of Interest is more like existential, creepy, unsettling part.
Unsettling only. Yeah. Anyways, but there are options.
Biggest disagreement is also coming that Palme d'Or winner.
For what?
Anatomy of a Fall.
Some of you will like it and I'll hate it.
Why will you hate it?
It's out online.
I don't know.
Okay.
I don't know about that. I want to watch it. It seems interesting. I'm also into like court dramas. I have to watch the Mutiny Trial first.
You haven't seen that?
Sir, I haven't seen anything contemporary. We have discussed this.
Contemporary drama.
But we will essentially come with those two movies definitely, and I will ask some people who if they want to recommend me one other art house movie so that we can get a nice trifecta of maybe we can do Don't Look Now if you guys are fans of Don't Look Now.
Oh,
What
Peter
else? No, that's not Peter Weir. Nicholas Rogue, no.
and Nicholas Rowe. Yes, yes. Nicholas
We can do
Rowe.
that. We'll see. Anyways, thank you so much for listening. You can follow us on Spotify. You can follow us on Instagram on Queen is Dead Film Podcast. Spotify, you can please rate us, not like, rate us, follow us, and everything. And please do answer our questions or polls, whatever we put out. It'll be interesting. It's informative for us what we can do next and what we should do next. You can follow all of us on Instagram and Letterboxd. All of those details will be in the description. Thank you so much for listening. And is there a Japanese way of saying goodbye?
Sayonara.
Ah,
Hmm. Yeah. Sayonara then. Yes. Khatam.